And what is the meaning? Well, that's what's given in the astrological chart. It's exactly what is given. So the Lord is dancing. And his universal form is assuming different poses. And each one of those poses has a specific meaning. And that is the meaning of the time. The significance of the time. So the meaning of the time when a soul comes into this world is very significant for that soul. Because it reveals the particular karma they are bringing from the previous life. We did a reading for Christian last night. Astrology, Jyotish. And there's so many things that were revealed that he was astonished. But to us it's normal. Try to understand. It's normal. It's an ordinary thing. Every day. Every day. Because we know the science. So if you know the science, then it's an ordinary thing. But if you don't know the science, then it's wonderful and astonishing. How did you know that? How did you know that happened to me when I was 9 years old or whatever? Well, we can see in the chart. So, if you know, similarly, if you know the science of the soul, if you know the science of consciousness, then you can easily adjust your consciousness to be in a healthy condition. You see? If you know the science. If you don't know the science, and then you see someone who has control over their consciousness, has control over their emotions or whatever, then it seems astonishing. It seems amazing that how is it that this person can control their senses? How is it that they can control their mind? How is it that they don't lament? Or how is it that they don't get caught up in material desires? It seems amazing. It's so wonderful and so rare that we doubt that it's even possible. Oh, he must be going out and sneaking a smoke every once in a while. Maybe he has a girlfriend on the side. Yeah. But no, there are really devotees who can control their mind and senses, and who don't lament when things go bad in the material world, or who don't desire and anticipate and hanker for the objects of the senses, and who have no taste for these things. There really are people like that. We have so many nice devotees here, and they don't have any trouble. They're telling me it's easy to control the senses. It's easy. Because we are controlling our consciousness. We're thinking of Krishna. We're chanting the name of Krishna every day for several hours. And we're chanting Vishnu Sahasranam. And we're doing the Arti ceremony. The Arti ceremony is so powerful that if someone sees the offering of the lamp before the deity, even one time they can attain liberation from that. Stated in Padma Purana. You see? So we can't imagine how powerful is this Krishna consciousness process. Krishna consciousness actually gives us the ability to control our mind, to control our consciousness. We can't control the cameras. The camera's going on and off. But we can control our consciousness when we know, or when we understand that how the consciousness comes into the material world and how the consciousness becomes split. You see? We are an individual, which means that we are one. We're whole. Purnam. Just like Krishna is Purnam. Krishna is whole. He is one. But apparently Krishna splits himself up into so many expansions, so many potencies, so many energies, so many living entities. Apparently. Yet, that's just an illusion, and actually Krishna remains one. Similarly, the spirit soul also, even though he is actually always one, in illusion, he splits himself up into pieces. This is illusion. This is Maya. This is material consciousness. And it happens through identification. Identification means I accept something that is not myself as being myself. Identification means that we accept the objects of our consciousness as being our consciousness. Because we don't understand what consciousness is. Because we don't understand what consciousness is, we think that the contents of our consciousness are our consciousness. See? We have to make the distinction between the contents and the consciousness, between the mirror and the image reflected in it. If I point a mirror at anything, it will reflect exactly what's in front of it. Similarly, if I point my consciousness at any particular thing, it will register exactly the qualities of that thing. Okay? Now, in material consciousness, we don't directly sense objects. You can say, well, I can see you, you can see me. We're here in the room and I can see so many things and hear so many things and feel so many things. But just think about it for a minute. When you see something, what's happening? The light is coming from the sun or from a light, and it's bouncing off that object, it's reflecting off that object, and the light is entering into your eye, and then there's a lens in your eye that's focusing it on the optic nerve, and then the optic nerve is taking that image and encoding it in nervous impulses, electrical impulses. And then the impulses travel down the optic nerve into the visual cornea of the brain. And then the visual cornea of the brain decodes that signal, and then it matches it with a previous signal, similar signal, that was perceived before. And then you say, oh yeah, that's a camera, that's a computer, that's Uddhava, that's a light, that's this, that's that. You recognize these objects. Okay? So now, tell me, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the object directly? No. No. You are seeing a pattern in your brain. And the proof of this is that young babies, when they first come into the world, they don't recognize anything. They're just like, did you ever see a really, really young baby, like a couple days old or a couple of weeks old? They're just like, same with their speech. They can't speak any words. They just make noise. That's a baby. Because they have no patterns stored in the memory of the visual cortex. After some time, even just a few weeks, they get to where they can recognize mother. And usually the first words are also mother. Mama. This is almost universal in human society. Because this is how the brain develops. This is how the encoding and decoding of the visual and oral signals develops. So, in the beginning, we don't recognize anything. Everything's like this, like, what's that? But then gradually, we get to recognize these patterns. Oh, that's mommy, that's daddy, that's Milky, that's my rattle. and we start to orient ourselves in this little world. And we start to know that, okay, when mommy comes, then Milky comes. You know, when daddy comes, then there's a lot of talking. You see? And we gradually get expectations about what's going to happen and stuff like that. Meanwhile, we think that we are seeing the world, but actually we are seeing our own senses and mind. Patterns in our brain. Huh? So try to understand. We're developing all these associations. And then we start to think that, oh, the vision, this seeing, these pictures in my brain, these are real things. And I'm seeing them. And I'm conscious of seeing. So we become identified with seeing, thinking that I'm conscious of this object, I'm conscious of